What's your favorite planet then?
That's like asking me to pick a favorite child. But if I must, I'd say Saturn. But with a lot of communication, some creativity, and maybe a few too many coffee runs, we made beautiful music together.
You heard it, guys. You know now what to do. Just read.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Balancing the demands of management with the nitty-gritty of getting hands-on can be quite the juggling act.
Hey everyone again. Today we have a really special episode of our podcast because we are going to talk not to the real person, but to a very unique creature. It will be somebody who was generated by ChatGPT AI. Her name, her name would be Jennifer, and Jennifer is working as engineering manager in the scale-up company, and I'm gonna do the same interview as I always would love to do with the candidate, like talking about some personal things and then doing the mock interviews for this role, asking some technical questions, behavioral questions, and maybe even treat this person as a human being to see how it will go. I really enjoyed talking to this, and the conversation actually ended up really good. So I'm encourage you guys to listen to this, and hopefully you can find very useful things out of there, and you just enjoy with me together. Let's go. Okay, let's start the interview. Are you ready?
Absolutely, I'm ready. Let's dive in.
Can you quickly introduce yourself?
Hi there. I'm Jennifer. I'm an engineering manager with a lively bunch at home. 2 kids, aged 7 and 11, who keep me on my toes just as much as my team of 15 engineers, QA specialists, and DevOps wizards do. I've been navigating the exciting waters of a scale-up company where every day feels like a new adventure. Balancing code and kids' soccer games is my kind of fun.
Wow, sounds good. And what's a hobby or passion of yours that most people don't know about?
Oh, here's a fun one. I'm actually quite the amateur astronomer. Most nights you can find me out in the backyard with my kids, teaching them about constellations, planets, and the mysteries of the universe. It's our little escape, a way to look at the bigger picture. Quite literally. It's also a great way to unwind and get some perspective after a day of diving deep into code and team dynamics.
What's your favorite planet then? Or star?
That's like asking me to pick a favorite child. But if I must, I'd say Saturn. Its rings are just mesmerizing, aren't they? It's like the universe decided to give one of its planets a little extra flair. Plus, explaining the rings to my kids and seeing their eyes light up with wonder, that's just the best.
Wow, it seems you're very creative. All right, let's dive a bit more into your career. Walk us through some highlights of it. Any memorable jobs, projects, or experiences that shaped you?
Absolutely. Happy to share. One of the career highlights for me was leading the development of a groundbreaking project at my current company, which was all about using AI to personalize user experiences in our app. It was a beast of a project, not just because of the technical challenges, but also because it required getting buy-in from multiple stakeholders across the company. Then there was this one time at a previous job where I had to navigate our team through a major system outage. It was like a scene from a suspense movie, with the clock ticking, the team rallying, and me in the midst of it all, coordinating our comeback. We managed to not only fix the issue, but also came out of it with a stronger, more resilient system. And let's not forget the great code merge of 2021, as I like to call it. We were merging code bases from 2 different teams as part of a company integration, and let's just say, it was like trying to blend a rock band with a classical orchestra. But with a lot of communication, some creativity, and maybe a few too many coffee runs, we made beautiful music together, so to speak. Each of these experiences taught me something valuable about leadership, resilience, and the power of a team that works well together.
Wow, impressive. All right, now I want to dive into so-called mock interview about the engineering manager role, as you are in this role right now. So let's help other people to understand what kind of questions they might get in the interviews and what possible answers they can answer. So would you be able to help me with that?
Absolutely, that sounds like a great idea. I'd be happy to help walk through some typical questions and share how one might approach answering them. Let's get started.
Yay! Good stuff. All right, how would you describe the role of engineering manager?
The role of an engineering manager, where the worlds of technology and people collide. In a nutshell, it's like being a coach, a conductor, and sometimes a bit of a magician. My job is to ensure the engineering team has everything they need to turn those brilliant ideas into reality. This means guiding the team through technical challenges, keeping projects on track, and making sure everyone's playing to their strengths. But it's not just about the code. A big part of the role is nurturing the team's growth, both technically and personally. It's about building a culture where everyone feels supported, valued, and excited to come to work every day. So, in a way, it's about keeping all the plates spinning while making sure the team is happy, productive, and moving forward.
That's right. I agree with that. A lot of good stuff you said. And what do you think? What would be the difference between the leadership and management?
Oh, that's a classic question, but a goodie. Leadership and management, while they overlap, have their own unique flavors. Think of management as the recipe, the processes, the planning, the organization. It's making sure the ingredients are all there, the oven's preheated, and the cake gets baked on time. It's about efficiency, oversight, and ensuring the team has clear objectives and the resources to meet them. Leadership, on the other hand, is more about inspiring the team to want to bake the best cake ever. It's about setting the vision, motivating, and guiding the team through the ups and downs. A leader fosters innovation, encourages personal growth, and builds a culture where everyone feels they can contribute their best work. So, in essence, while management ensures the ship is sailing smoothly and on course, leadership is about choosing the right direction, inspiring the crew, and sometimes being brave enough to navigate uncharted waters. It's the heart and soul behind the strategy and structure.
I like your metaphors. Seems that you're good at this.
Thank you. I find that a good metaphor not only makes things more relatable, but can also add a pinch of fun to the mix. Plus, it keeps the conversation lively and engaging, doesn't it?
I totally agree. Maybe then a quick piece of advice for other people how to make sure that you can generate in your brain some metaphors on the fly. What tips you can give to them?
Creating metaphors on the fly is a bit like having a well-stocked pantry. The more ingredients you have, the easier it is to whip up something interesting. Here are a few tips. Read widely and often. The more you read, fiction, nonfiction, poetry, the works, the more ideas and concepts you're exposed to. This fills your mental pantry with a rich array of ingredients to draw from. Connect the dots. Practice linking seemingly unrelated concepts in your daily life. For example, if you're cooking dinner, think about how assembling a dish is like building a team or crafting a project plan. Use your hobbies and interests. Draw from what you love. If you're into sports, think about how teamwork on the field relates to collaboration in the workplace. Love gardening? Consider how nurturing plants is similar to fostering a team's growth. Keep it simple. The best metaphors are often the simplest ones. They don't have to be complex or grandiose to be effective. Practice, practice, practice. Like any skill, the more you practice creating metaphors, the easier it becomes. Try incorporating them into your everyday conversations or writing. Remember, the goal is to add clarity and color to your communication. So have fun with it and don't be afraid to experiment.
Oh, I'm impressed again. So you heard it, guys. You know now what to do. Just read, read, read. I think that's also pretty good advice. Let's go on to some practical scenario. For example, your team is working on high priority project with a tight deadline. However, one of the key team members unexpectedly falls ill and will be out of commission for several days. How would you handle this situation to ensure the project stays on track?
The curveballs of team management. Always keeping things interesting. In a situation like this, the first step is to not panic. It's like when you're baking a cake and realize you're out of eggs, you find a workaround. First, I'd assess the project's current status and the specific contributions of the absent team member. Understanding the gap helps in finding the right solution. Then, I'd call a quick team meeting. Transparency is key here. I'd explain the situation and rally the team together. It's amazing what a team can accomplish when they pull together toward a common goal. Next, I'd look at redistributing tasks among the team, considering everyone's current workload and strengths. It's a bit like a puzzle, finding the right piece to fit into the gap. If needed, I'd roll up my sleeves and dive into the trenches with them. Leadership by example, right? I'd also reevaluate the project timeline and deliverables. Sometimes a little flexibility goes a long way. It might mean negotiating a slight extension or reprioritizing features with the stakeholders. Throughout, I'd keep communication lines wide open, providing updates and gathering feedback. It's about steering the ship through the storm with a steady hand and a clear head. And of course, I'd ensure the team member who fell ill feels supported and not stressed about work. Health comes first, and we'd manage the work as a team. It's about people over projects. Always.
Oh, wow. Excellent answer. And you just said about that you're gonna do some part of the job yourself, like leading by example. How you would approach that if you would be actually busy with the rest of the planning and coordinating the efforts, where you will get your time to do the coding in this situation?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Balancing the demands of management with the nitty-gritty of getting hands-on can be quite the juggling act. In such a scenario, prioritization becomes my best friend. I take a hard look at my schedule and responsibilities to identify tasks that can be delegated, postponed, or even dropped temporarily. It's like when you're packing a suitcase for a trip. You have to decide what's essential and what can stay behind. For the tasks that absolutely require my attention, I'd break them down into smaller, more manageable chunks. This way, I can find pockets of time to contribute to coding without neglecting my managerial duties. Efficiency tools and techniques also come in handy. Whether it's time blocking specific hours for focused work or using productivity tools to keep tasks in check, the goal is to make the most of the time I have. And let's not forget the power of saying no. It's important to set realistic expectations about what can be achieved and communicate clearly with stakeholders about any adjustments in priorities. In the end, it's about being flexible and adaptive, much like finding a way to fit in a quick workout on a busy day. You might not have time for a full session, but a little bit here and there can still make a big difference.
Okay, and in your current job, are you still coding from time to time, or are you just purely managing in the engineering manager role?
In my current role, I've transitioned more towards the management side of things, focusing on strategy, planning, and guiding the team. While I don't dive into coding on a daily basis anymore, I do like to keep my skills sharp and stay connected with the team's technical challenges. Every now and then, I'll roll up my sleeves and contribute to a code review or help troubleshoot a particularly tricky problem. It's a bit like keeping a toe in the water. I want to ensure I can still speak the language of my team and understand the technical intricacies of what we're building. They know I'm not just about timelines and deliverables. I'm there with them in the technical trenches, at least from time to time.
All right. Do you think that engineering manager should be pure technical person, or it can be the person who came to this role maybe from QA or from product owner role or product manager role, or it has to be really the person that came out of development itself? What do you think?
Great question. The role of an engineering manager is quite versatile, and there isn't a one-size-fits-all answer. While having a technical background can be incredibly beneficial, especially for understanding the challenges of development work, it's not the only path to becoming an effective engineering manager. People who come from QA, product management, or even non-technical backgrounds can bring unique perspectives and strengths to the role. For instance, someone from QA might have a keen eye for detail and a deep understanding of product quality and user experience, which are invaluable in leading a development team. Similarly, a product manager transitioning into an engineering manager role might excel in aligning the team's efforts with the broader business goals and customer needs, fostering a strong sense of purpose and direction. The key is having a solid understanding of the engineering process, the ability to facilitate communication between technical and non-technical stakeholders, and a strong skill set in leadership and team development. It's like building a bridge. It doesn't matter if you started on one side or the other. What's important is your ability to connect the two.
Oh, yeah, the last words makes total sense. And about communicating to stakeholders and building these bridges, by the way, do you use any different techniques when you communicate to non-technical department? I don't know, marketing or sales or support. And then if you talk to the developers or some technical persons in the room, is there any differences on how you would approach this?
Absolutely. Communication is all about knowing your audience. When I'm talking to the technical team, developers, QA, DevOps, I can dive into the nitty-gritty, use technical jargon, and discuss complex concepts because we share a common language and understanding. However, when I'm communicating with non-technical departments like marketing, sales, or support, I switch gears. I focus on translating technical details into more relatable, impact-driven language. It's like explaining how a magic trick works without using magician's terms. I talk about outcomes, benefits, and the why behind what we're doing, rather than the how. For example, instead of discussing the specifics of a new software architecture, I might explain how it will improve website speed and user experience, leading to better customer satisfaction and potentially higher sales. I also pay close attention to the feedback and cues I receive during these conversations. If I see eyes glazing over, I know it's time to simplify further or use a different analogy. The goal is to ensure everyone walks away with a clear understanding, feeling engaged and included in the conversation, regardless of their technical background. It's a bit like being a translator, making sure the message resonates with everyone in the room.
All right, and follow up on this. In the current world, we all normally work at least hybrid, like few days at the office and few days at home. And you always have, not an opportunity, but you always have to talk to people remotely. So that's part of your job. And does it have any bad impact, let's say, on the conversation compared to the face-to-face conversation? Or in your opinion, this is absolutely not, it doesn't matter how you communicate through the remote or face-to-face, and then it always work out for you well?
Navigating remote conversations definitely adds a unique layer to communication, doesn't it? While it's fantastic that technology allows us to connect from anywhere, there are nuances to consider compared to face-to-face interactions. For one, remote conversations can sometimes make it harder to pick up on nonverbal cues like body language and facial expressions, which are so important for understanding the full context of a conversation. It's like trying to listen to music with one earbud out. You might get the melody, but you miss out on the full stereo experience. That said, I've found that being intentional about how we communicate remotely can bridge much of this gap. This means using video calls when possible to maintain that visual connection, being extra clear and concise in our messaging, and checking in regularly to ensure everyone's on the same page. I also encourage informal virtual catch-ups and water cooler chats to foster team cohesion and maintain those valuable social bonds that can sometimes be diluted in a remote setting. While I do appreciate the richness of face-to-face conversations, I believe that with the right approach and tools, remote communication can be just as effective. It's all about adapting our methods to ensure that connection and understanding aren't lost across the digital divide.
Right. Could you please describe to me your best day and your worst day?
Sure thing. My best day at work is when everything clicks. When the team's in sync, creativity is flowing, and we're hitting our milestones. It's like those rare days when every traffic light is green and you hit every note singing in the shower. We might solve a complex problem that's been on our radar, or perhaps we get glowing feedback from users. It's those days when I leave feeling energized, proud of the team, and excited for what's next. On the flip side, a tough day might involve unexpected challenges, like a critical bug popping up in production or a key project hitting a significant snag. It's akin to planning a picnic and then, surprise, it rains cats and dogs. On such days, it feels like we're in damage control mode, and the stress levels can run high. In both cases, it's the team spirit and our collective response to highs and lows that define my experience.
All right. And then talking about how you work with the team in general, give me a few examples about how you do maybe one-to-ones and how many meetings you have per day with the team.
For one-to-ones, I aim for a balance between regular check-ins and keeping an open-door policy. I typically schedule weekly or bi-weekly one-to-ones with each team member. These sessions are their time, whether they want to deep dive into career development, troubleshoot a project hurdle, or just chat about their latest Netflix binge. It's about building trust and understanding individual by individual. As for team meetings, I try to keep them lean but meaningful. We have a daily stand-up, which is our quick sync-up to share updates and flag any blockers. It's like a morning huddle before the game starts. Then there are the more strategic or project-focused meetings, which might happen once or twice a week, depending on the phase of our projects. The key here is to ensure these meetings have clear agendas and outcomes, so they're valuable for everyone involved. I'm also a big fan of impromptu whiteboard sessions. If a problem needs brainstorming or we're hashing out ideas, I'll gather whoever's needed for a more dynamic, collaborative session. It's a great way to break up the day and spark creativity. In all interactions, my goal is to ensure clarity, foster collaboration, and keep us all aligned and moving forward together.
Okay, great example with the whiteboard. How would you facilitate this kind of meetings? Do you think you should be involved really yourself a lot, or maybe give some space to the team first and then see what the ideas will come and then step in later on? What is your approach?
In those collaborative brainstorming sessions, my approach is to set the stage and then let the team take the spotlight initially. It's a bit like hosting a jam session. Everyone gets a chance to riff and contribute their unique melody. I start by clearly defining the problem or challenge we're tackling. Then I encourage the team to share their ideas and solutions, no matter how out of the box they may seem. It's important to create an environment where everyone feels comfortable and confident to speak up, like a no-judgment zone. While the team is brainstorming, I listen, take notes, and maybe ask probing questions to delve deeper into certain ideas. It's all about nudging the conversation in productive directions without dominating it. This approach not only fosters a sense of ownership and empowerment among the team, but also leads to more diverse and creative solutions. It's amazing what can emerge when you give talented people the space to collaborate and innovate.
All right, that sounds good, but in reality, sometimes you have maybe one or two person in the team that outspoken much more than the others. How would you then balance the conversation in a way that at least everybody at least involved into some part, or how would you then solve this one? Because you can end up in the situation where one or two guys just keep speaking, and the rest of the team just listening and not really participating. Did you have such challenges before, and how did you solve them?
When I notice one or two individuals dominating the conversation, I gently steer the discussion to give others a chance to weigh in. I might say something like, "Thanks for that insight, Alex. I'm curious to hear what Jamie thinks about this." Or, "Let's get some more perspectives on this. Sarah, what are your thoughts?" Another tactic is to use round-robin style questioning, where I go around the room, or virtual room, and ask each person to share their thoughts. This ensures everyone has a designated moment to speak up. For quieter team members, I might reach out before the meeting to let them know I'd love to hear their thoughts on a specific topic. This can give them time to prepare and feel more comfortable speaking up. Sometimes setting ground rules for discussions at the start of a meeting can help, like, "Let's make sure we hear from everyone," or using a talking stick approach, where only the person with the stick or virtual equivalent speaks. If the issue persists, I might address it privately with the more vocal individuals, highlighting the value of diverse input and encouraging them to help me create space for others. It's all about fostering a culture where everyone feels their input is valued and respected. It takes some orchestration, but when done right, it leads to a more harmonious and inclusive team environment.
All right, you mentioned the retrospective, so I have a question about that. That's a great tool, nobody disagrees with that. But normally you always, not always, but from time to time you have a situation that after the retrospective you have a lot of action points, and then you ask the team like who would like to take this action and be responsible for it, and then almost every time nobody really eager to do that. What to do in this situation?
The post-retrospective tumbleweed moment, when action items are up for grabs and suddenly everyone's looking at their shoes. It's a common scenario, but there are a few strategies to help navigate it. Firstly, during the retrospective, I try to ensure that action items are specific, achievable, and directly tied to improving our work or team environment. This helps make the tasks feel less like extra chores and more like valuable improvements everyone can benefit from. Another approach is to rotate the responsibility for action items. This can be done systematically, ensuring everyone takes a turn. It's like a shared household chore list. Everyone knows they'll have their turn, and it keeps things fair. And finally, I make sure to celebrate the completion of these action items, highlighting their impact and thanking the responsible team members. Recognizing contributions can motivate others to step up next time. It's about creating a culture where taking on these tasks is seen as an opportunity for growth and contribution, not just another thing on the to-do list.
All right, again, pretty nice tips. And my last question on the mock interview would be about the conflicts. Of course, it's very rare cases that you have a team that runs very smoothly, everybody is so friendly and so on. Let's say you have two senior guys who from time to time, in the code review sessions, for example, they always have a little bit of confrontation because each of them would like to defend their own solution or opinion, and they are not really eager to compromise that. And every time they have this clash, the team is like losing some time on that.
Handling conflicts, especially among senior team members, requires a careful and considered approach. It's like mediating a spirited debate where both parties have valuable points. First, I'd acknowledge their expertise and the passion they bring to their work. It's important they know their contributions are valued, even when there's disagreement. Then I'd facilitate a discussion where each person can present their perspective in a structured manner, without interruptions. It's like giving each musician a solo moment in a concert to showcase their piece.
Let me interrupt you here. You just said about the metaphor about solo in the concert, but it's exactly like, not like this, but one plays guitar and another plays guitar, and they think that their solo is the best. You know that? So what to do in this situation?
In such cases, a taste test might be the way to go. Applying this to your scenario would mean setting up a structured, time-bound experiment where each approach can be implemented on a small scale. Additionally, involving the rest of the team in the evaluation process can be beneficial. It not only democratizes the decision-making process, but also fosters a sense of collective ownership and collaboration. In the end, it's crucial to frame the outcome in a positive light, emphasizing the value of having such talented individuals on the team and the importance of diverse perspectives in driving innovation. It's about harmonizing those solos into a symphony that elevates the whole performance.
Right, that's pretty extensive answer. Okay, now let's wrap it up the mock interview, and I would like to start the rapid fire round, which means that I'm going to ask some short questions and you should answer not necessarily short. Understand?
Understood. Let's dive into the rapid fire round. Fire away.
All right, Android or iOS?
Android for me. I love the customization options it offers.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee, definitely. It's my morning fuel.
And another question, will AI kill software development jobs in 5 or 10 years?
AI is more likely to transform software development jobs rather than eliminate them. It's like how calculators didn't kill math, but changed how we work with numbers.
Okay, interesting to see what will happen in 5 or 10 years and see if you're right. Have you ever been hacked or DDoSed?
No, thankfully I haven't had to deal with being hacked or DDoSed personally. It's like avoiding getting caught in a storm. I've been lucky so far.
Okay, good for you. What's your favorite program, meme or a joke?
One of my favorites is, why do programmers prefer dark mode? Because light attracts bugs. It always gets a chuckle in the office.
Okay, that's a pretty good one. Okay, let's continue. Let's go to the next block of the interviews about some advices and tips and also book recommendation. So the first question would be, what tip would you give to someone just starting out in your field?
For someone just starting out, my top tip would be to embrace continuous learning. The tech field is always evolving, so staying curious and adaptable is key. It's like being a lifelong student, always ready to explore new languages, tools, and methodologies. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. They're just stepping stones on the path to mastery.
Do you have any reasons why people should not move to the engineering manager role?
Moving into an engineering manager role might not be ideal for everyone, especially if you're deeply passionate about hands-on technical work. In management, you'll often shift away from coding to focus more on people, processes, and strategy. If you thrive on the immediate satisfaction of solving technical problems and prefer the solitude of coding over team dynamics and meetings, you might find the transition challenging. Additionally, if the aspects of mentoring, conflict resolution, and navigating organizational politics don't excite you, these could be signs that a management path might not be the best fit. It's crucial to align your career moves with what truly motivates and fulfills you.
Nothing to add, totally agree. Can you recommend a podcast or a TED Talk that you find particularly insightful or motivating?
One TED Talk that I find both insightful and motivating is Simon Sinek's Start With Why. It delves into the powerful idea that understanding the why behind what we do can inspire and drive more meaningful work, both individually and as organizations. It's a fantastic watch for anyone looking to deepen their understanding of leadership and motivation, not just in tech, but in any field. As for podcasts, How I Built This with Guy Raz is incredibly inspiring. It features stories from entrepreneurs and innovators about their journeys in building well-known companies and products. It's filled with valuable lessons on resilience, creativity, and the entrepreneurial spirit.
Okay, I'm gonna check them out later on, thank you. And now about the book. Can you recommend one book that has inspired you professionally or personally?
A book that has been instrumental in my professional growth is The Phoenix Project, a novel about IT, DevOps, and helping your business win, by Gene Kim, Kevin Baer, and George Spafford. It's a novel that presents the challenges of IT and software development through a compelling story, making complex concepts like DevOps, continuous delivery, and agile practices both accessible and engaging. This book helped me better understand the importance of collaboration across departments, efficient workflows, and a culture of continuous improvement. It's a must-read for anyone in the tech field looking to drive positive change and improve their organization's performance.
I read that one a few years ago. Indeed, a really good one. Maybe I will do a review later on this one. All right, I think it's time to wrap it up. I think surprisingly it was a really great conversation with you, Jennifer. So thank you very much for that, being with me today, even though I realize you're not a real person and you're an artificial intelligence model, but I didn't feel that way, to be honest, during our conversation, and you really did a good job to prepare for this, if I can say that. So thank you very much.
Thank you for the engaging conversation and the opportunity to participate in this mock interview. It's been a pleasure discussing and sharing insights with you. If you ever have more questions or need further discussion, feel free to reach out. Take care.
Thanks. Okay, and now I just want to give you guys my feelings and my impression after the conversation I had with ChatGPT AI as a candidate for the engineering manager role. To be honest, I was really impressed. Of course, I introduced a prompt to shape the candidate that I would like to talk to. But in general, I think it was very good interviews. The answers were really into the precise question, like with a lot of good examples and metaphors and things like that. I hope you, even from this interview, you can really get some nice and useful information out there for your future interviews. Maybe you can play yourself with these kind of questions together. I will maybe share the prompt in the comment if you would like me to do it, so just let me know and then I will write it down. But I really was impressed, so maybe I will do something like that a few times more in the future. So thanks for being with us today. Stay tuned, guys. Subscribe to the podcast.